Country Confidential.
My name is Bobby, and I actually have been following you guys for a while. And so it's really fun that we are having you on. I figured, let's start back at the beginning. You know what I mean? Tell me the story about how you guys met, and then how did that transition into being a duo?
We met a few years ago. We both moved to Nashville as solo acts. We didn't know each other before we moved here. We both moved here to kind of do our own thing. And long story short, we met through a good mutual friend of ours named Ray Fulcher, who I actually live with, and he's artist, songwriter here in town. And it was just kind of the classic Nashville meetup of, I think Chris and Ray were riding one day, and Ray's like, "Hey, do you mind if a buddy of mine, Matt, jumps in?" He kind of has the same love of music, and we wrote a song that day. And it was one of those things, when you meet somebody and you feel like you've known them your whole life. That's kind of what it was with Chris and I. And I think we played our first quote unquote show together that same exact weekend. For the next little while, like a lot of artists do when they're coming through Nashville, the grind of Nashville, we were just playing every show that we could find. And I knew a lot of cover songs. Chris knew a lot of cover songs. And we're like, hey, if I can get a gig and blah, 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 and we can take my sister's Honda Civic to save money on gas, will you go play it? And, he was like, yeah, let's do it. And that's how we started. And we kind of just played cover band 4-hour bar gigs for years. And then how we kind of got to the place of, hey, let's be Southerland was after years of doing that, we kind of led us down to Key West.
Let's be Southerland. That's such a funny sentence. Let's be Southerland.
So how it kind of worked is it led us down to Key West for the Key West Songwriters Festival the BMI puts on. And, you got to pay for your trip to Key West. So we're like, hey, let's get a 4-hour, late night bar residency at a bar on Duval Street. After all the BMI shows are done, we'll just, play a cover band gig. So that's what we did. So we got a spot there at, what was it? It was called, it's something different now. What was it called, Chris?
Lazy Gecko at the time.
Lazy Gecko. Yeah. We got a spot at the Lazy Gecko. How it kind of worked out was we had known, Luke Combs for a while, and it's kind of when he was first coming up, when his first single was coming up the charts. And honestly, I think it was the day it went number one, it was within a day of it going number one, Hurricane.
Yeah,
he was out there, and naturally we had him get up and play his hit and all this sort of stuff. And his manager was with him, who's Lynn Oliver Klein, who is the owner and CEO of River House Artists. And she saw us out there and kind of planted the seed. She's like, "Listen, I don't know y'all. All I know is what I've sat here and watched." And she essentially offered us a duo deal in the street of Key West off one time seeing us. And it kind of planted the seed. And, we kept kind of doing what we were doing, playing a million shows. And one day we decided, like, man, why don't we give this thing a shot? Maybe people see something in us that maybe we're not seeing right now. And I remember we were coming back from another 4-hour trip and playing multiple shows in Florida, I think it was. And it was almost like he and I were on the same page. I kind of looked at him and I was like, man, should we do the duo thing? And he goes, dude, it's funny. I was just thinking the same thing. We got nothing to lose. And Lynn, to her credit, was so sweet to us. I mean, she was essentially just, hey, why don't you try it? Cut some songs, write some songs. If you don't like it, just go back to what you were doing. No harm, no foul.
In a nutshell, it's like a 4-year story right there. That's it.
It's so difficult to kind of cram it into one thing because it is a culmination of so many things that kind of happen.
Yeah. What was like so special about it to us is, a lot of times you hear these duos that are formed because these two guys, they're great solo artists or whatever. They got that kind of stuff going on, but they just kind of get put together like over lunch one day, but that was never the case for us. We were actually out playing and we were buddies to begin with, so it was very organic the way that it happened. So
I think that comes across in your music. It doesn't seem forced. It seems like you guys, I mean, even on your recorded stuff, it just seems like you guys are in the studio, like just having a good time and like, look what comes out. But why Southerland? Yeah. Like, how does that represent you guys as a duo?
So we got the name again. We were with Ray. We were playing a residency up in Maine. And this is the first time we had ever been to Maine. So Ray's driving in his van. So it's like a 16 or 18-hour drive or something like that, all the way up to Nashville. And we were playing at a place called Eric's Church in Maine. And we got So we were up there for like 3 days, and it's like 0 degrees. There's like no Ubers up there, and we're like walking around like just it was that's a whole different story. But so we were on the way up, and this is in the heart of us trying to figure out a name. And we start looking up things like, what is there to do in Maine? It's the first time we've ever been to Maine. And somebody in the van goes, well, hey, here's a Wikipedia page. And they start like reading off these random facts about Maine. And they find this place in Maine. It's in Bath, Maine. It's called Bath Iron Works. And it's where the USS Southerland, it's like an old battleship, was like built there. And as soon as he said that, everybody in the van kind of looked up and were like, man, that's really cool. Yeah. Me being from Georgia and he's from South Carolina, it's kind of a tip of the hat, to like Southern land. And so it felt right, like in that moment. So,
and I can tell you, we were down some really horrible rabbit holes as far as finding names.
Yeah.
It's probably to this day one of the hardest things we've ever had to do.
Yeah.
But who would have thought you'd find your band name that kind of tips your hat to like our Southern heritage, literally at the northern tip of the United States.
I know.
You guys mentioned you guys are from the South. I mean, that's where, the music that all three of us love, lives. Talk to me about your guys' upbringing with country music. Did you guys grow up with the genre? You know what I mean? Talk to me a little bit about some of those early influences for you guys.
My mom is just such a lover of country music. It was Keith Whitley in the house all the time. It was George Jones, Alan Jackson, Shenandoah. I mean, just all of that kind of music that I fell in love with, which is still our biggest influences today. My dad is a Southern rock guy. He likes country, but he doesn't, he likes more of Southern rock. So on his end, it was, Leonard Skinner and REO Speedwagon and all those guys. And so music was always just a thread through the family. But I can tell you, I'm kind of the black sheep in a weird way because nobody else sings or plays guitar. I just kind of figured it, just started doing it one day, really. Just so random.
No, I love that.
Yeah, for me,
what about you?
My whole family is really into country music. So, I mean, I grew up loving Alan Jackson. George Strait was a big one of mine, Travis Tritt. My mom basically had to beg me to start playing guitar because my granddad, he played, and I had a bunch of cousins that played. So when I was like 10 or 11, she was like, please just learn how to play just so you can like play with the family and all this kind of stuff. Cause they used to get together on every, like once a month on Saturdays, and they sit around and play and sing and stuff. So that kind of, that was always a common thread in my family, music and especially country music. So I never stood a chance. So
No, I love that. So I feel, but like, I'm going to say it again. I feel like that just this kind of thread, you guys have both said it, this thread of country music kind of just bleeds through your music. I feel like your music is so refreshing, but at the same time, it's comfortable and familiar. Like I can dive deep into it because I already know I'm going to love it. And I feel like being a duo, two brains are better than one adds to that. So, but from your guys' perspective, why do you think being a duo, specifically in country music, is more unique, maybe compared to like a solo artist?
I can tell you the biggest thing for us is one, it was a seamless transition. Going from the quote unquote solo career to the duo career, especially because Chris and I's interests in how we kind of, you're essentially two CEOs of one business. What you think, a lot of people ask us all the time, do y'all fight all the time? Do you butt heads? We never do. We just have the same love and passion for the same kind of music and the career that we want to have. That really it's kind of seamless. But I will tell you, I think the thing that I try and kind of tip our hat to ourselves is, me as a solo act, I couldn't break away from the crowd. I couldn't find that lane that was just different, that would make people turn heads to make me different from another solo male act. And, I won't speak for Chris, but I'm sure it's kind of the same thing. I knew we had the talent, but it's, sometimes to get to the next level, it's like another thing than that. And so when we started the duo, we were like, man, I think we can kind of take the strengths that your strength might be my weakness might be your strength, and put them together and kind of make something that's just us. As I sit here, we kind of not pride ourselves, but we wanted to build a band that you could not replicate. I didn't want to be somebody that you listen to their music and like, oh, they sound like this, and this, and this, and this other new artist. we wanted to kind of find our own lane. And that's why it's the kind of music we do, where it has a lot of that traditional sound to it, but it's still today's radio, where it doesn't sound dated and it doesn't sound old. But then also, he and I can both switch out lead. So when you hear duo, sometimes people just hear, oh, there's a primary male or the primary singer, and then there's a background singer. And a lot of our songs have that, but also we kind of took a lot from what Montgomery Gentry did. And as far as like their songs that might fit my voice better than his songs. So when you can do that, now it broadens what you can sing about, and it can broaden what you can cut, because you're not a one-trick pony anymore. You can kind of cover a lot of different bases. And so I think that's one of the benefits of being a duo is I feel like we're kind of building ourselves to be a little bit of a Swiss Army knife, to be able to do a little bit of everything,
That's like the coolest thing I've ever heard. It's like you really thought about that. Like you knew I was going to ask that, but that's such a great, I love that. Cause I feel like one of my favorite things about you guys is that switch lead. And it's fun when I go in to listen to something new you put out, cause I can be like, okay, who's going to do it? Like what's going to pop up where? I think that's so fun. Chris, do you have anything to say about that?
No, he kind of covered all the bases on that one. That's another plus of the duo. Sometimes we kind of switch off. We'll both get on a run with something. And it's like, all right, well, I'm going to sit back and kick my feet up on this one.
And another thing that kind of helps is, being able to kind of say that and say it confidently is these are the conversations we had before we even agreed to do the duo.
Yeah.
Because we knew that, hey, we could do it. We could be a duo. Anybody could be in a duo. But I was like, we have to find what is authentic and what is unique to us. So we had these conversations to ad nauseum as far as what's our brand. Who is going to be the lead singer for the most part? What's the sound? What's, what are our goals? And we had all those conversations before we started. So that way, it didn't feel like a brand new band. It felt like we had kind of ironed it out a little bit.
Yeah, it was a lot more focused than, I won't say, than people think it is, but like we kind of ironed out all those details before we even started. We were just kind of firing on all cylinders and both on the same page. So. And we were lucky to find a team of people that allowed us to run with that, and just have that creative freedom. And it's not that they want us to do anything different. We've been very lucky. We're all on the same page. So it's been great.
What's your favorite part about the dynamic between you two?
I think we do a good job of knowing when you need your own time and when it's time to kind of get in the trenches and work together. Because that's the big thing. And like I said, you're two people in a boat together, and it's just making sure that, I think what helps it a lot is that we were buddies before we were a band. So we bring that to the table because, I don't look at Chris as like a coworker, really. He's a buddy, and we work through stuff like buddies would. I think that's one of the biggest benefits for sure.
And then on the music side, I mean, our voices are completely different. I mean, I have such a lower register, and he's got a higher register than I do. And it's just, that's why we go back to like, it's a song by song basis on who's going to do, who might sing the verse versus the chorus, or who might take this entire song or whatever it is. We have a, Swiss Army knife of a toolbox to work with. So I think that's what is really cool.
What's been your proudest moment as Southerland?
It's putting out the EP, probably, because it was kind of our, for the most part, this duo kind of built a foundation during a pandemic. We didn't really have any music out. We weren't obviously touring. We were just literally just building foundation, the behind the scenes stuff. And man, when the EP came out, it was kind of like our first step into the world. That's why we decided to do 7 songs, which is a lot for a brand new band EP. But I was like, man, I want to show people A to Z who we are, what we can do, the differences in our voice, kind of like a preview of what's to come. And the best thing about it is whenever you put out music, it's so scary because we love it and we love it in our hearts into it. But when it goes out to the world is going to determine what it's really going to be. Listeners are going to determine. And it was so well received. And I mean, a lot of the things that happened is, we got our face on a billboard in Nashville. We got on a lot of these playlists that we have dreamed of being on. And I mean, there's no better feeling than that. That's definitely top accolade at this point.
I mean, we're starting on our third year of a publishing deal. So this is my, I was in town for 8 years before I signed a publishing deal. So, I mean, there's a lot of struggling on that end of it, but we got through it, and we're just proud of being able to stand on stage and play songs that we write. I know that's a big deal for me, because it's way more authentic, I believe. If it's something that I sat in a room for a couple of hours with, some of my buddies, and we came up with something from nothing, that's very special to me. So signing my first publishing deal here in town was huge for me.
Like I said earlier, I feel like I'm so comfortable with them because I feel like you guys are so authentic, and it's something that I just love. And I feel like you guys feed off of each other so well in the writing room. So what is your favorite way to write together? Like, where do you guys like to pull inspiration from? I know you guys said you like to write with some outside buddies, but like perfect world, perfect write day. Like, what does that look like for you guys?
They come in so many different shapes and sizes, but I have noticed, and I know that this is probably kind of like counter against what most people think. The songs that take no effort and practically no time to write are some of our favorite songs. And I don't know why that is. Some days the inspiration's just there, or the title or the idea is there, and some days it's not. I mean, I can tell you 90% of all the songs that we play now that we would hang our hat on, we wrote very fast. It wasn't a sitting there for 6-7 hours or come and write it 3 times. A lot of them were so easy. And a lot of that is just whoever brings it in the room. There's some days, I could say almost every write we do, Chris and I write together. But never once, it's probably been hundreds of writes at this point, but never once have I gotten old. Never once have I been like, I'm kind of sick of writing with this guy. Like, we do a good job of just knowing what we want to say. And when we don't have anything, it's okay to say, hey, instead of just going into this mental fog, let's just pick it up another time. That's the real trick is, you want to be busy and you want to work, but you also don't want to just be busy and work just to be busy and to work. You want to do it smart. So, but it's all different, all kinds for sure.
There's some days, with us, you always want to, you feel like some days you need to go in there and get a song every single time you step out of the room. But I mean, sometimes it's just not happening. So that's one big thing we've had to learn, is just being okay with some days that you're going to go in there and just hang out. There's nothing wrong with that.
Well, I think a lot of that comes from the, 9, almost 10 years of being in town. Going in there and just getting a song that's okay, that benefits nobody. So why not really get in there and use all of your creative power when you're really on something you think is going to be beneficial to not you, but also the listener. So I think we've just kind of learned that over time.
Okay, so this is a fun question, especially because you guys are separate. I'm like, okay, I have to ask this because you can't be like, no, you can't really, whatever. You can just make faces over Zoom. So what is your favorite song off the new EP?
Probably Came Out of Nowhere. That song means a lot to me. I mean, that's literally every time we play that song out, that's what I tell everybody. I mean, this song means a whole lot to me because I grew up working all kind of, crazy jobs over the years, and my whole family, they're still back there in Georgia, working those same jobs. It's just, it really hits home to me. You want to talk about authentic. I mean, that song it's 100% who I am and where I came from. So that's definitely my favorite.
I love Came Out of Nowhere, but I think mine for sure is along those lines. And we say this in our live show of, hey, for people that have never seen us play before, you've never heard our music, this song is 3 minutes and 30 seconds of exactly who we are and where we came from. Because that song, every word in that song is authentic, even up to Wando River and Kettle Creek. Wando River is where I'm from. Kettle Creek is where he's from. We kind of took both of our towns and our upbringing, and we kind of made this almost like fictitious place that pulled from all that stuff. So it's the one song that if people ask, man, I don't know anything about you, play me something. It's got to be that song. Because that's going to tell you who Southerland is if you don't know. Now, Boot Up, I do love playing live, especially when we have the band. And the crazy thing we've seen, almost every show we play, people are singing the words back to us. So there's something cool about that too. As far as the lyrical content along those lines has always been my favorite.
Yeah.
Well, you know what I mean? The Southerland train has just been, you know what I mean, riding this year. It's been so great seeing all these great opportunities that you guys have had. But I have a feeling, you know, with the last, I'm going to just say 2 months of the year, you know what I mean? You guys have some stuff going on. So I will tell you, this is coming out. This is going to be our November episode. So it's probably going to come out maybe the week of Thanksgiving. So anything you guys want to tease without getting into too much trouble, you're more than welcome to, or to promote. But what can we expect from you guys here for the rest of the year and early into next year?
Well, like you said, you know, the biggest fear for us is idle time. So we have been writing a ton. We have a lot more music. You might hear music, you might not, who knows? I can tell you the big thing we're focused on is we're getting out on the road. We like to pride ourselves on just getting out in front of people and putting in the miles and putting in the road hours to get out there and have conversations like we're having right now with people in real time, and playing our songs. And the shows on the road are picking up, so we're very thankful for that. The biggest thing for us is the more people we can get in front of and the more people can hear our songs, we're going to do everything we can do to do that, for sure.
Awesome.
Well,
Thanks so much, guys.
Yeah.
It was so nice to meet you. We'll see you soon.
We appreciate
Thanks.
you.
Bye.
Country Confidential.